Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and have I got a news report for you, specifically in regards to all the email hacks and leaks that have been going on since earlier this year. Now it all started, I guess the beginning of it, with Hillary Clinton's email scandal, which now we can access a majority of those emails thanks to WikiLeaks and organizations like that, where these emails can be accessed so we can see the content of what was actually placed on these unsecured servers, which I believe should put her first and foremost in handcuffs in a jail cell. Now we also had the DNC email hack and leaks as well recently that revealed a whole heck of a lot of information, specifically in regards to the attacks on Bernie Sanders, the corruption from within, the fact that they had people dress up as Bernie supporters in certain areas and start trouble, incite violence to make it look like people like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump had violent followers, so to speak. We know that has come out on the email, along with a lot more. Now, I put all these on earlier posts that you can check out on my YouTube channel, but let's go to the most recent leaks, and that is by DC Leaks from George Soros funded organizations have been leaked, along with William Reinhart, information on him. Now, what I want to do in today's report is delve through some of those emails, because I say it's about darn time somebody started hacking these people. At least now their information is open public, and we know that conspiracy is becoming reality, which I like to call conspiracy fact, because a lot of the times they label it that so you believe it's not true, while all the while more and more information is coming out proving that these people are the scumbags we believe them to be. And so I want to take you straight to the source and straight to the emails. Now, here are two things that I want to state before getting into that. Number one is I believe there is an absolute agenda at play, and we are in the crosshairs of these globalists and their agenda. And number two, I personally believe there's a reason that these hacks and emails are coming out, and I'm going to get into that. But these are very crucial points that I want you to take from the very beginning, because I really think things are about to get wild. I mean, number one, there's an mass awakening of the population with the release of these emails. Globalists know that, and I do believe some of them are scared, but nonetheless, there is an agenda, and I believe that these emails play into that. But let's delve into this report. All right, so first stop here is at the website, the actual leak site, dcleaks.com. Here's all the different profiles of information they have linked on. Now, I'm not going to touch too much, probably. I guess if you want more information on William Reinhart, you guys can come back, check that out. It is protected. But George Soros here is their latest data dump. But who are they? Real quick, if you don't know who DC Leaks are, they are fairly new level project aimed to analyze and publish a large amount of emails from top-ranking officials and their influential agents all over the world. They claim to be for the American people, for freedom of speech and human rights, and they believe that politicians have forgotten their place and that the American people have a right to vote outside of all this voting fraud and rigged system crap that you and I are always dealing with. Now, they claim to be an American hacktivist group, so we don't really know who is leaking out this information or what will be leaked in time, other than it'll have to do with our top politicians, and apparently they're including Wall Street fat cats, industrial barons, and multinational corporation representatives, just like our Mr. George Soros, who I say amen to his data dump, because it's about darn time. Now, I love the definition they give on their website about who this George Soros character is. And let me just stretch out the screen here so you can see it. And they say he is of Hungarian Jewish ancestral. He holds dual citizenship. He drives more than 50 global and regional programs and foundations. Soros is named the architect and sponsor of almost every revolution and coup around the world for 25 years. Yes, we in the conspiracy fact world have been stating for years that he is the author of many of the coups that have gone on. It's like he's one big puppet. The world is one big puppet in his hands, and that includes many political leaders, including Hillary Clinton, which I'm going to show you in an email in just a moment. But that gives you a quick idea. So going first and foremost into George Soros' profile, when you go here, there's lots of information. There's different sorts of documents you can click on, his financial reserves, and lo and behold, we have Open Society Foundation. Now, who is the Open Society Foundation? Let's go back one. This is opensocietyfoundations.org. Guess who obviously is the funder of this? Mr. George Soros himself. He is the founder and chairman. This is the organization we have kept an eye on for years and have warned many people about, that is causing many of the coups, or funding that George Soros funds many of the coups through his particular organization. Now, going back, kind of that you've seen that is who this information data dump, a majority of it is on anyway. Here's some of their budgets. It's time to talk. And like I said, there's always good and bad in everything, and with a little bit of good in the organization comes a whole lot of poop in the pie, as I like to say. But definitely stuff worth delving into. Now, there are a few websites that have delved into some of this already, and this particular one, this Ukraine tax reform, what I want to ask is, what is Open Society having anything to do with Ukraine? Well, before all this data dump on DC leaks, there was another data dump in Ukraine, which I'm going to drive you through in a moment, that actually came before this. And well, let me not jump ahead, but here's some ties to Ukraine, where they're sending some money, political agendas, workshops that they've offered in order to promote certain initiatives and whatnot through the Open Society, which they claim to protect human rights, all the while they're engaging in a lot more mischiefs. But let's move here. This is one website. It's got all the same information. You can find all of these projects in there. But this is sli.mg / here's this SLIMG website here. Full list of Soros non-government organization manipulating elections in all of the European Union states. This is through his organization, Open Society. All the documents are here, and the different organizations that they have put through. You can see two here, and some of the grants that they have provided as well. Let's read this one, for example. The purpose of this particular grant, you can see $15,598 is to create an interactive news story as a snapshot of the current anti-European forces through a political fiction experiment built with journalism elements and imaginary state. The fictional country has 3 levels of representation, all based on real examples of contemporary Europe. The aim is to show the readers how these forces behave once they come to power, and do it through an interactive kind of thing. I don't know about you, but when you're giving that much money to do an interactive game, I can guarantee you that there are bigger agendas at play, like information that George Soros wants to find out of how countries respond to this or that, so he can manipulate it all and put in his games. But a ton of them are like this. There's a bunch of these projects. Here's another. Here's where he has some of these organizations, some of the money that he spit out here. And you want to pay attention to some of the higher amounts, because that's huge here. But here is where he taps into the LGBTQ community. Here's another one where he actually targets, he goes, let's get the young people to be more aware and get them out to vote. The reason that he does this And I personally believe, I'm all for youth going out to vote, but the reason he's targeting it is because he wants to manipulate and twist our youth right in that college level, right in that high school level, because they're ripe at a lot of the globalist play of where that mentality is at. Well, I think 100% they should be voted. They should also be educated on what is going on. And they're truly targeting our youth in that early prime where they're being manipulated in our colleges and high schools, and before they, are at some of the real life events, and thereby there's a lot of manipulation going on at that level. There easily can be swayed one way or another. But obviously there are lots of youth out there that are outside of that bandwagon, but I know the attack on them is immense. And this just proves it. When you're funding lots of money or funneling certain amounts in certain organization, and in that case we're in the 100,000s there, that's something to look at. Here's another one. Lots of money here being funneled. Lobbying candidates. Ensure the media coverage of the EU elections reflects their priority. Let's push one organization over another. Here's 261,000. Radical democracy for Europe. All this is aimed at EU to involve the creative media making community in a debate around the elections and European politics in line with that organization by connecting social networks and raising tools and having a maximum impact project. I can go on, but for time's sake, I'm going to leave a link here, and I highly encourage you. All this really shows is that he's been manipulating it all from the get-go. He's been pulling strings, funneling money, getting his candidate in, and calling shots from behind the scenes. Here's more proof that he's doing it in America. WikiLeaks had dumped Hillary Clinton's email archive. I'm going to leave this one for you. This was an email specifically from, well, you guessed it, George Soros to the Clinton organization, and it basically states about the unrest in Albania. And he says, a serious situation has been risen in Albania. It needs urgent attention at senior levels of the U.S. government. And he basically says, look, there's deaths, there's this, we need to push and you need to do this. We need to connect to a counter demonstration to be organized by the governing party on Wednesday. Wait, what? I mean, you are organizing counter demonstrations to do what, Mr. Soros? And don't worry, everyone, because Miss Hillary Clinton followed through. Because we know that George Soros sent a lot of money to the Clinton organization, and she did not disappoint Mr. Soros one bit. But here's the email file proving he not only manipulates abroad, but here in America as well. Here's one example, speaking of some of the chaos Mr. Soros has caused in America. Billionaire gave $33 million in a year to embolden the activists in Ferguson here at home. And that was back during the Ferguson, but nonetheless, that is what has happened. Now, moving on here to zerohedge.com. In the beginning, I said there was an agenda at play. I absolutely believe there is. Now, we know that with the leak of all these emails, we're ticking off some globalists. Let me say that for certain. And with that in mind, I want to say the agenda it's deep, it's out there, but here is the beginning of it. The hacked emails exposed George Soros as a Ukrainian puppet master. Now, this was put out by Tyler Durden, or that's the name on Zero Hedge. Anyway, 2015. This is last year. And that is before any of these DC leaks came out. But in this particular report, it talks about Cyber Berkut, B-E-R-K-U-T, and how they leaked information on George Soros way even prior to the DC leaks. Like I said, this is back in 2015. But the hacker known as the Cyber, B-E-R-K-U-T, has exposed George Soros as the puppet master behind the scenes in Ukraine. And they released 3 different documents, one of them a short and medium comprehensive strategy for Ukraine, which I'm going to show you, and a few of these. Let me just let me just take you there. Here is that website, and I'm going to leave a link below. But on this particular website, I believe it's a Russian source here, but nonetheless, they release actual documented information to prove who is really behind the Ukrainian tensions there, and that is Mr. George Soros. Now, there's a lot of documents here that you can go through, but George Soros is trying to manipulate the opinion of the Dutch in Question Association of Ukraine and the EU. Well, now we have his data dump from the EU, from DC Leaks, but we got this a while back from the cyberbaruch.org, exposing how the real tensions are being pushed through globalist George Soros. I honestly believe that he, obviously we know he wants to start wars, but here's the thing. These latest DC leaks at the moment, and the leaks with the DNC, they're attempting to blame on Russia. Now, is Russia truly the cause of these email leaks? Well, that's the agenda here, and that's the big question. I don't really know if they are or not, but what I do know is this organization, again, Russian source here, but nonetheless, they've leaked and proven through real documented evidence, multiple sources saying that no, it's not the tensions here. Who is causing this? George Soros is causing uprising and tension within these countries. So all kinds of information. So I beg the question, if it truly is Russia, I don't think so. But there's here is the short and medium term comprehensive strategy for the new Ukraine. This particular document outlines, let me scroll to it here, I believe it's on page 2, that Europe must reach a new framework agreement that will allow the European Commission to give and allocate up to $1 billion annually to Ukraine. Just a question here, since when does Mr. Soros have the ability to be on a political stance and make demands such as what he's making? Here, I think that's the question to be asked, but here's another one where he says the new Ukraine is literally on the verge of collapse. All the right ingredients for radical reform programs are available. What kind of radical reform is Mr. Soros referring to when he's talking about Ukraine? Let's go to another document here. Here is one. You could see his George Soros signature there. But this is to the president of Ukraine. What right does he have to write the president of Ukraine? He doesn't. That's the problem. But interesting information there. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the final report here on Zero Hedge. Real recent, George Soros, NATO allegedly hacked by the Russians. And I'm guessing that's how the information got out. Well, he's got some great information in here on that, but I absolutely agree. Here's the kicker. We don't know who actually hacked the emails, but we do know some particular information, like this organization a while back leaked out that George Soros was playing puppet in Ukraine. Well, and they had to prove to back it up. So who truly is at fault for this? And what are they wanting to do? I truly think that is the question and the agenda on the table. Here's the thing. All these emails are being leaked somehow. We also know that people are ending up dead. People on the Democratic National Convention staff and more, mysteriously, or are they the ones actually leaking it? Nonetheless, the blame is going to Russia. Now, here's the thing. I know that here in America, Western tensions have been pushing Russia for quite some time. Now we have proof of Mr. George Soros playing puppet with Ukraine, playing puppet with America, and Miss Hillary Clinton via the WikiLeaks email that I just showed you. He's got a lot of people underneath him. He's pulling strings with presidents, writing letters to the president of Ukraine, who this man should just get trash, so to speak. I don't like George Soros, but nonetheless, there's an agenda. But what's that agenda? I can't help but think that they're wanting to start war with Russia. At least America wants to provoke the Russian bear. Whether or not that is actually the case, I can't help but all these email hacks, email leaks are being blamed on Russia. And that gets me thinking, well, what's the real agenda? Is there war on the table? Are they wanting to provoke the bear? What's the real agenda here? And while I don't know with 100% certainty what it is, what I do know is that those emails have been leaked. We don't know the full source of them, but I can't help but shake the fact that they're going really quickly to blame Russia. All the while, we have the Russian news source proving the real mastermind is George Soros, who has manipulated the markets in Ukraine. Now, I'm not sure George Soros is leaking out his own emails, so to speak, in order to incite wars, but nonetheless, they can use it or are attempting to do so. But here's what I see. I see a lot of ticked off globalists who use crises to their advantage. After all, they say never let a crisis go to waste. Well, that's what's happening here, I think. And quite frankly, I can see some pretty ticked off elite, and what they're going to start as a result, I just don't know. They've got lots of weapons up their sleeve, from HARP to chemtrails to nuclear powers. So there's a lot of things that can give them stable ground. And here's the other thing I see is there's a massive awakening from the people, not just here in America, but all over the world. And I think eyes are being opened to the incredible power grabs that are happening from behind the scenes. And I just want to encourage you guys, stay in prayer, stay aware, stay awake to what's going on, and always look behind the veil to see what's going on. We don't know who is truly at fault, but I can't help again but shake. There's an agenda at play. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest. And also, if you are not prepared with food, please do so. With war on the horizon, with economic devastation on the brink, that's another way it could go. They can collapse the economy and let it all fall to the crapper and let the cards lie where they may, so to speak. And that's a possibility as well. Trust me, they have their bunkers, they have their food, they have their water, they have their needs met. Billion and millionaires are ready to go. But I want to encourage you as an average, everyday Joe like myself to be ready, because we don't know when it's going to hit the fan. And look, folks, if the elite are preparing and getting ready, you need to get ready and prepared. And make sure you've got plenty of food and water. I personally use foodforliberty.com/Haven. That's who I like. The food tastes great. I love it. I use it. But there's also other things you need, not only food and water, you need medical supplies. Make sure you have that on stock. Make sure you have shelter over your head, a place to go if you need a bug out. You have bug out bags, lots more things. There's lots of good prepping websites for that. So make sure you check out a few of those prepper sites. Also, there's keep yourself healthy. I've got a few sponsors on that as well. Protovite is something that I use, as well as Get the Tea, but the Protovite has really helped me. I'll leave links below if you guys want to check out information on that. And also getthetea.com for your detox. Well, thanks again for tuning in. This is Lisa Haven signing off.